very simple yet potent model, and that is to live purposefully and lead consciously. And I believe that you want to live purposefully, right? We all want to live more purpose-driven lives, and that's something that you owe to yourself. But leading consciously is something that you owe to the rest of us. And as we lead consciously, we have to show up a little bit differently. We have to show up more human. So a part of the work that I do with my clients is help them reconnect, redefine, and refocus who they are, what they stand for, and what matters to them, and how that's reflected in their everyday life as well as in the work that they do. So that's what we're gonna be talking about here today, and how to do that through your personal brand, and of course, utilizing video, which how many of you are like so pumped up after everyone's presentation about doing video now? Yeah? Okay, well if you're not, you're gonna be pumped, and if not, you're gonna pretend, okay? And then you're gonna pretend to be pumped about it. Because I'm a strategist, but I'm also a coach, and I'm a little bit woo, or a lot of bit woo, depending on who you ask, which means I'm all about the feelings of things. And feelings is a very human emotion, isn't it? But some would argue that there is no place for feelings in your business or in your marketing. And I call BS on that. I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and leaders all over the world. And when they started reincorporating how they feel into their work and creating from that space, things begin to shift. And I can attest to it from a personal level as well. There's 1,001 ways to make money, and there's 1,001 ways to market yourself. And somebody somewhere is doing something that's effective for them. But is it going to be effective for you? So feeling good about what you do and how you show up is important, because when we don't feel good, we tend to hide. We tend to procrastinate, and those two things don't have a good return on your investment, right? So what can you do to start showing up in a more authentic way? So by the time we're done with this presentation, my goal is for you is to think more creatively in how you can build your personal brand utilizing video in a way that is meaningful, in a way that is fun, in a way that is truly compelling, and is more human for the rest of us. So on top of helping you create more fun, compelling, and creative content, we're gonna talk about your personal brand and what that means, but we're gonna go through it really fast because I wanna get to the good stuff. I'm assuming here that today everyone knows pretty much what a personal brand is and branding and all of that jazz. But just in case for someone in the room who doesn't, I wanna cover it. But we're gonna really dive into the discovery piece and helping you pick out different experiences and skills and interests that maybe you can infuse into your brand, into your business, but most definitely into your video. Next. All right, so first let's define a personal brand. But before we can define a personal brand, we have to know what branding is. And branding, to me, my favorite definition of branding is it's what people say about you or your business when you are not in the room. What are people saying? We tend to define our branding based on our visuals, right? We gotta have the perfect logo, we have to have the perfect colors, and we spend a lot of time on those logos and those colors, probably way too much time. And there's some scientific proof that those different aspects change the psychology of how we look at things, so that's fine. But we incorporate that, we incorporate jingles, we incorporate taglines, all of that creates a visual and an audio branding experience. And then of course, the human side of it, the customer service, the product, how it all comes together, and then what someone says about the whole entire experience is that branding. So we all have our opinions about these different brands, right? You see a whole collage of brands right in front of you, and I just want really quick to just jot some out, and I want you to tell me what comes to mind when you think of them. Subway. Eat fresh, is that what I heard? Yeah, eat fresh. So how many of you believe that it is eating fresh? Oh, okay, well, I don't know if they're doing such a great job with that. But they say that it's eating fresh. You don't believe that it's eating fresh. So those two things don't necessarily go hand in hand, right? What about, let's do just one more. Let's talk about Coca-Cola. Anything comes to mind? What is it? Fabulous? Oh, happiness. I was like, yeah, I mean, they could be fabulous. Happiness, and that's like a new campaign that they're really, really trying to push and run, right? Happiness. Do you all feel happy when you drink a Coke? No? Yes? A little bit, sometimes, occasionally, okay. Well, I mean, they've been around for a really long time, so we all have our opinions about it. But happiness probably comes to mind because that's the campaigns that they've been really pushing lately. So we all have these different opinions about what these big brands do, but what about a personal brand? What are some personal brands, the next one that comes to mind? Anybody? Like a big personal brand. Ellen? Yes, Ellen. Anyone else? Oprah? Oprah. Yes, there's Oprah, there's Ellen, there's Martha Stewart, all of these individuals that have built multi-million and billion-dollar businesses based on just being themselves. So personal brands aren't new, right? They've been around for a really long time, but what has changed is our ability to create our personal brand in such dynamic ways utilizing social media. So now we are the publication, we're the publicist, we are the camera people, we are the photographer, and we get to do it right from our phone for the most part, which is really changing how we show up in the world. So what does personal branding mean for you and your company? Well, like Damien says, it means that you get to be the person, be a face, and show up in a way that is unique to you. Not just unique to your business, but unique to you. And who are you is probably one of the questions that we're gonna have to ask. Because according to Nielsen, 15% of brands only believe or 15% of customers only believe what the brands have to say, right? So if Subway said, you eat fresh here, but no one in this room believed that. Usually because you experienced it for yourself or someone told you. So if 90% of us are willing, though, to trust a friend, a family member, right? Somebody that we know. Because you are here. And as humans, we trust you. We trust those that are closest to us, and social media allows for us to get really close to people, really close to them, right? You become the advocate. You become the person that I go to for the latest marketing trends because I love your take on it. I love that you're funny when you explain it. I love your nerdiness and the way that that shows up. However it is that you want to be seen, you can be that person and you can show up in a true and authentic way. So let's put the personal and personal branding in video. What are some of the reasons that people don't like to build a personal brand?
Because it's personal.
Because it's personal, right? And what are some of the fears with showing up in such a personal way? You're weird? Yeah. You're exposed. And what happens when you're weird and you're exposed? Good stuff happens when you're weird and you're exposed. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But usually it means that we are going to be judged, right? People are going to think our weirdness isn't that cool. And nobody wants to not feel cool. We all just want to be a part of the in crowd to some degree. We want to be accepted. We want people to love us. And so we wonder if our weirdness is going to make us lovable. We wonder if our weirdness is going to make people want to, essentially as business owners, buy from us. But here's what I know. Based on my own personal brand and working with others with personal brands, is that people really like that weird stuff. They really do like the weird stuff. They like you to be exposed. They like you to be human. And a part of that humanness is really understanding who you are, right? You've heard that a lot this morning. So who are you? What is who you are? Like, what is that based on? Everyone keeps saying, just be who you are. And you're like, I am who I am. Well, how do I define that? Well, your values. What are your core values? What do you stand for? What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? What are some of your bigger dreams and goals that you have in life? And are you sharing it? Who are you? And if you don't know who you are, if you can't answer those questions, then there lies the problem. How can we build a personal human brand when we aren't even connected to ourselves on that level? So this is me. As you can see, I had bigger hair, right? And so some of the pictures are mixed between my big hair and now my fabulous short hair. You like the short hair? Well, thanks. But this is me. I have pictures of myself literally all over the internet in a good way. But I share a lot of who I am. I share my family, I share my beliefs, I share my experiences, I share when I travel, I share just about every aspect of my life, and probably some will think it's overkill, right? But why do I do that? I do that because when I walk into a room like this one, where people may have only met me online, I hope that when they come up to me, they go, or they don't tell me this, but I have been told this before, you are just like how you are online. It's amazing how much of us are trying to be, how we're trying to really censor who we are, trying to play down our weirdness, play down the fact that we are ever expanding human beings. But who are you from the core? Connecting to that side of yourself. And this was a journey that I personally had to go on over the last couple of years. Back in 2015, I had my first daughter. And I was experiencing all kinds of things being a new mom and also running a business. And I was feeling really disconnected. Disconnected from who I was, disconnected from my work, even disconnected from my child, my family, and my friends. I was going through postpartum depression. And I didn't know that I was going through it at the time. I'm a person that lives out loud. So what I decided to do, not knowing that I was experiencing all of this for a reason, a hormonal reason, thinking that I was just losing my mind, I decided to take to Periscope, which most wouldn't think that's the good idea, right? You're going through all these emotions and all these things, but you're gonna literally talk about it live? I decided to go live, and I decided to go live every single day. And you would think I was just talking and complaining, but I wasn't. I was already a coach, I was already a teacher. I knew how to turn what I was experiencing into a more powerful, teachable moment. To take the time to think about what I was going through and what that meant for the other humans that were watching me on the other side. By doing this, I not only built a tribe of those that were shifting, literally shifting with me, but it was really therapeutic for me, speaking out all of these things. I started a whole new brand almost based on live streaming every single day and processing and shifting out loud. It was therapeutic. It helped me connect to people all over the world who are also experiencing, not necessarily postpartum depression, because that's not what I talked about. I just talked about fear, and I talked about anxiety, and I talked about building businesses with fear and anxiety. I talked about being human. I talked about connecting to self and connecting to others, and how important that was for us to do the big things that we wanted to do in the world. Through that process of live streaming out loud, I also began to connect who I was. There was a very important element missing in my business. I was trying to be like everybody else. I was trying to produce content like everybody else. I was trying to show up and market and teach marketing like everybody else. But that's not what I wanted, and that's not what people wanted from me. So by going through this own personal experience of mine and taking to Periscope as the app of the day at that time, I built a whole nother brand. I think 85% of my clientele that year came from live streaming and people watching me every single day. And I got to connect to who I truly am and the messages that resonate with me and clearly resonate with others around the world. So this is a little activity that I do with all of my clients in most of my workshops and have absolutely changed my life and their life. And it's super simple. This one activity helps you dig a little bit deeper. Yeah, you could totally screenshot it for sure. But this one activity helps you start to uncover some of the old passions and interests that maybe you've been putting on the wayside, that has taken a back burner from years ago that you used to do and enjoy, and even the work experiences that you used to have and enjoy, but have gotten so used to the minutia of everyday life that you've put it in a box and it sits in your closet. So this first list is about passion and it's about interest, right? So I want you to, if you have paper and pen, you can jot some of these things down. We're not gonna go through the whole thing because for time purposes, but I want you to list 10 things that you've enjoyed doing in the past. Think about your childhood. What did you used to love to do that you probably just haven't done lately, but brought you so much joy? What did you used to do? Did you used to read a lot more? Do art, paint, run, be out in nature, whatever. Whatever it was, what did you do? 10 things. And then you're gonna reorganize that list to things that you did the best. Like things that just really helped you from a skill perspective and brought you lots of joy, lots of happiness, and maybe brought others happiness too. And then you put a star. The reason this is shaped like this, because I've actually helped people build new business models with this list. What are some of the things that you absolutely enjoy doing, and what are things that you enjoy doing the most and have done the best? List number 2 is your skills and your experience. Where have you worked, right? We've all had a lot of jobs probably over the years. Where have you interned? And taking all those experiences and picking and pulling the parts that really matter to you, right? You're gonna reorder that list from least to favorite and obviously knock out the ones that you least like. But then step 3 is really important too, because even in the jobs that you didn't like at all, there's probably something about that job that you did, right? Maybe it was the people, interacting with people. The job sucked, but you loved hanging out with the people. Maybe it was certain tasks, maybe it was an experience, maybe it was the learning. What was it? By utilizing this list, you get to kind of start to cross-pollinate what actually matters to you. And you get to see, wow, I used to paint all the time. I really don't do that anymore. But maybe it'll help me re-jog this passion that will help me in my marketing or help me in my business. Next slide. I want you to meet Rachel. She's an online friend of mine that I've been following basically since I saw this particular series that she did about a year ago. And it's called Awkward Marketing. And Rachel she runs a design graphic marketing studio. And she's just awkward, but funny as hell, and you're gonna see. Rachel runs a marketing design studio, right? Cool, so she can show on her Instagram and show, my latest website, or here's a tip or a tool for you to use for your marketing strategies and campaigns, which we all do, and it gets old. But Rachel went to school and studied acting. She has a BA in acting. So she did something really interesting. She created a campaign last year called Awkward Marketing and decided to break down different types of marketers.
Hey, I'm Brad. I'm here in my backyard. Just want to make this video today to talk to you about online marketing. 3 months ago, I was pretty down on my luck, lost my job, I had $0 in my bank account. My girlfriend left me for a Segway tour guide. Pretty humiliating. Then I discovered the 7 secrets to 7-figure success. Here I am now living in the beautiful Hollywood Hills. I have 25 Lamborghinis and I only work for 4 minutes a week. Turns out hard work is for suckers. You can do next to nothing and have almost everything. And I'm living proof. Hold on, I gotta take this. Hey Warren Buffett. Yeah, sure I can give you a loan. I'll call you back later. Okay. Ha! He's hilarious. Anyway, get my 7 secrets to 7-figure success in 7 minutes. And as a bonus, you'll get my scripts to fooling people into thinking you're something you're not. access to a bunch of MP3s you'll never listen to but artificially inflate the perceived value of my offering, and a one-on-one call with my beautiful assistant Heather, who will shamelessly upsell you into a totally different package. But you gotta act fast. Cart is closing in 5 minutes. You won't have access to this amazing offer again, so act now. See you on the other side. Peace, love, and Lamborghinis.
Wow, that's awkward. Let's take a look at exactly what went down there.
You can cut it
We've
off.
got an impossible rags to...
So that's Rachel. And she's brilliant. Brilliant. When I saw this video, I'm like, oh my goodness, she's calling some people out. And that's just one of what was 5 at the time, different types of awkward marketing. And since then, people loved it so much. This was about maybe 6 to 8 months ago when she first did this series. People loved it so much that now she does it weekly. It's a part of her weekly content that she makes these different awkward marketing videos, and you have to check her out because it's absolutely amazing. So she took something that she didn't become an actress, right? She didn't go to Hollywood and wasn't in any movies, because now she's a marketer, she's a graphic designer, she builds websites. But she was like, how can I stand out and be myself? I'm funny, I have this skill, I have this ability, let me infuse it into my work. And I thought it was the most brilliant thing that I have seen. I did something similar. Back in when I was going through all the rebuilding of self, one of my mentors also told me, what are you doing? What are you doing that's going to infuse more joy, more happiness, more you into your work? Well, I was like, I live stream every day. I'm like sharing myself, I'm sharing my stories. Is that enough? She's like, no. What are some of the things that you were really passionate about and you were really interested in? I always wanted to sing on Broadway, which is why I came in with a Broadway song, by the way. I don't know if you picked it up. But I always wanted to sing on Broadway, and I was in show choir, totally Glee, because this is a Glee town, right? That's what I heard. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, the home of Glee. And she's like, why don't you sing at your next talk? I said, wait, say what? Well, hold on. What do you mean? You should sing at your next, I had a talk coming up like 3 weeks from that point. You should sing in your next talk. You're crazy. Nobody wants to hear me sing while I'm presenting on whatever the topic was at the time. And she's like, no, everybody wants to. It doesn't matter. You do it for you. You do it because it's something different and it brings you joy. So I got to working on this other talk that I was doing, and I was like, how am I going to weave just like breaking out in song, which I know you're all thinking is gonna happen any minute now, but it's not. So, but they were all wondering, or she was wondering how, or I was wondering, how was I going to weave this in? And I told a story. I told a story of a talent show that I entered that was perfect. It was about fear and taking risk. And I told this story, and instead of me just saying, oh, I did this talent show, I decided to go through the whole motion of the talent show and then show up and sing the song. People were like, whoa, what just happened? But ever since that moment, people would then ask me, are you singing at your next talk? I'm gonna see you speak here. Are you singing? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, man, why not? And I was like, because I don't want to sing all the time, only when I feel really inspired to. But then they're like, well, can you sing in your videos? So then I started singing in my videos. So if you go to my YouTube channel, shameless plug, Live with Tiffany, you will see videos with me like singing certain parts of my video just because I wanted to. Not because you wanted me to, because I wanted to. But I've heard so much great feedback, and so it's just been amazing to be able to incorporate these different aspects of who I am into my work. So when you're thinking about being inspired, you think about some of your favorite personal brands. These are some bigger names of different personal brands, people that I admire, right? We have Lisa Nichols, Prince E.A., Michelle Obama, Brendon Burchard, Tony Robbins, Oprah, because Oprah. But you think about their personal brands and others, right, that aren't so big, like Rachel. Other people, what they're doing, like Damien, right? And saying, okay, well, how can I bring my special flair into this? How can I show up and do something that's weird and exposed? but in a very, not weird and exposed way. But maybe he took, he did it in the shower. So you can go as weird and exposed as you want to be, right? So it's about incorporating your passion, your talent, your interests, and infusing that into your videos, into your personal brand, because that's what it's about. Like Brian Fanzo always says, be yourself. You hear it over and over again. Be who you are, be yourself, and now I gave you a tool that you can go back to figuring out who that person is. It's a simple tool, but it's a beginning. Right? If you want to do some deeper level work, holler at me. But that is the beginning of you saying, okay, I could do this. There is something that I have that I haven't been sharing. There is a way for me to be more authentic. We hear it all the time too. We want humanness. We want human connection. We just want to see other people that are like ourselves on the other side of these screens. So now we're getting into creating a media brand, because that's what we're all trying to do, right? Creating a media brand and being more expressive. So here, I talk about when using video to share your message. Just remember one thing, that this is your show. This is your show. So make it fun, make it meaningful, make it count, make an impact. But you don't have to be stuffy anymore. We don't have to just sit in front of the camera and spew facts. You can do something different and do something that matters to you. So we're gonna dive into who, what, why, and where, and we're gonna do it a little bit differently. So who are you talking to? A human. You're talking to another human on the other side of the screen. Never forget. Another human just like you, with feelings, emotions, going through ups and downs, highlights and drama. You are a part of this business entity that you are creating, and we want to hear it from you. But more specifically, it's about relating and creating, right? You should know who you're talking to, though. Like basic marketing 101, who is your audience avatar? Because yes, it's cool to just show up and share all of your personal stories, but do those personal stories pertain to the work that you're doing and pertains to the audience members as they want to listen to you to be, involved in the work that you do in the world? So making sure that you're curating some of the things that you want to talk about and turning it into content that matters to the other person. And you can do this by making a list of topics and subjects that matter to them, and then finding your story that matters to you and weaving it in. Another cool way to keep up with all of it is like make cool vision boards. You can do that in Pinterest, right? Who uses Pinterest to make some cool mood boards and stuff? Okay, everybody else, do that. Because you can then start keeping track of different moods and telling story, and it can be more fun if you think about it in a fun way. The what? What do you want to be known for? Here's one of my past clients, Miss Felicia Jones. She is the budgetologist of what was budgetschool.co, but now Keep Up with Mrs. Jones. And about a year ago, we were talking about her building a podcast. And I'm like, sure, let's do that. Because she was doing video, but she wasn't so sure about doing recorded video anymore, and she wanted to explore podcasting. And I'm like, let's do it. But here's another way that maybe you can get people interested in your podcast is go live. Talk about it, repurpose it, turn it into the podcast itself. And so at first it was like, okay, a cool suggestion. Then she wanted to start live streaming every day. And she has live streamed every single day for the last 365 days. And I'm not just talking about Monday through Friday like I did. I live streamed every day too, and it was Monday through Friday. She live streamed Monday through Sunday for a year and is still going, okay? So what did that do for her? She is known now. She is known as the budgetologist. She is known as a money nerd. She's also known now as a live streamer, right? And has expertise there now. and she speaks all over the world. But live streaming every single day made her known for something. And that's what video, doing it in your own special way, can do for you. It's also about value. We talk about providing value. Are you providing enough value for your customers? Well, I decided to break down value in a couple of different ways. Value your knowledge. Sometimes we get so caught up in our mind and those negative thoughts tend to take over that we second guess all that we know. So value your own knowledge and build that self-confidence muscle that you know what you're talking about. You've lived the experience. You've done the work. So value yourself that you know and that others will receive it the same. Determine the value of your content. How is it really benefiting other people who are on the receiving end? I always do is check with myself now because I gotten so used to just sharing almost everything about my life. I share like I said, my travel with my daughter, my work, all kinds of different things. And then I have to think, does this actually matter? This one thing that I might be trying to post, is this really going to inspire, motivate, educate, entertain, build brand awareness, or people really connecting to me? This one thing may not actually fit any of those categories, so it's just me being extra. And it's probably unnecessary. So you can learn how to filter out yourself as well. And then number 3 is remember the value is in consistency. If you only post a video once, do one story, do one tweet every blue moon, then nobody is going to care. You don't care, right? You don't care enough to be consistent, and life does happen. So how can you do it in a way that's a little bit easier? Like Damien said, I spent 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes to make this content. However it comes out, I'm just gonna edit that, and that's what it is. Set the time. Or share it in different ways. Share bits and pieces of yourself in ways that feel really comfortable to you. Because that's what it is about at the end of the day, right? What feels good to you? The value isn't only in the content that you create, it's in the authentic approach that you use to create it. Why does this matter to me, and why is it going to matter to those that are on the receiving end? What's the story? Storytelling, another buzzword of today. You gotta be authentic, you gotta tell stories, and you gotta do video. Those are like the big 3 takeaways, right? But what is your story? What stories matter? I didn't have to get up here today and tell you that I went through postpartum depression. It didn't have to be in there. But why did I tell you that? Because I do not want you to think for a moment that me being up here makes me different from any of you. I don't want you to think that my career has just been constantly hitting the next level of success and I didn't hit road bumps in between. When I was going through postpartum depression, I was like at this middle point in my career that more and more people were knowing about me, and yet they wanted me to inspire them and motivate them, and people were asking me to speak, and I felt so uninspired. I felt like, who am I to provide clarity to others when I'm not clear? So these things happen to everyone that you look up to, everyone that stands on stage, everyone that's on social media. Everyone's going through something at some point. But the difference is what I decided to do with that moment. I could have hid, and trust me, after I live streamed, sometimes I went to the corner and I cried. That happened. But I showed up anyway, because I knew that through that breaking point, there was a breakthrough that was on the rise. And there was still some work for me to do, not only within myself, but I could help others along the way. And I trusted that I could do that. Or at the very least, I would build something out of it. Something was going to come out of it. And I just had to trust that that was going to be a thing. So what is your story? What's the stories that you want to tell? Not just based on who you are, but based on your company, based on your community. What are stories that you can share? Chris Shrub. If you don't know Chris, he just so happens to be in the room. Stand up for a moment. This is Chris. I met Chris about a year ago. We were both speaking at an event in Vegas. And I remember him speaking, and I was just so enamored by this human being. He is probably one of the most authentic, generous, gracious humans that I've ever met. And we became fast friends. I like to roll with good people, and I knew Chris was one of them. But Chris did something really cool a couple of years ago, and he still is known as the road trip marketer. But Chris went on an epic nationwide road trip to highlight nonprofits and community organizations doing some amazing work all through Snapchat and live streaming. And what he was able to do was extract awesome stories that often get overlooked, that often doesn't get told. And he was able to do that by showing up, being himself, and connecting the communities to the larger world. He still does work like this today, but even on his personal, as he's building his personal brand up, he just tells you like it is all the time. He takes you on the journey. Follow him on Instagram. He will walk you through the airport, through the restaurants. You will literally be having a beer with him. I mean, it is the epitome of the human experience. So what stories are you trying to tell? So a way that you can do this is through some content planning. I'm trying to put in some different pieces for you so that you have something tangible to take away as well. But what is your story? What is your brand story? You can create a storyboard. One of my mentors helped me walk through all the different stories throughout my life, literally map them out, and say, okay, this one definitely applies with this product that I'm building. This one definitely applies to this talk that I'm creating. How can I weave it in? Map it out. Themes, seasons, campaigns, think ahead. What is happening? What's going on? Infuse those stories. And then sometimes just wing it. We don't have to always be so mapped out. I live streamed every single day during that Periscope year. I never prepared once. I thought about what am I feeling this morning? What is the message that's literally coming through me? And I jumped on. I don't necessarily recommend it to everyone. Obviously, I do public speaking. I'm a coach. I'm able to frame things in ways that comes easy to me. So do what you need to do great work. But if you have to wing it because you feel inspired by something that you heard in that moment and you want to jump online and share it with others, do that too, because that's fun and we love to hear it. I got this from Chris Strubb's talk about a year ago, but he shared that we are all famous to a few people. With those vanity metrics that you saw in the very first video when we started the conference, Jessica showed, if we're always chasing the big numbers and always chasing the 1,000 people in a room or 1,000 likes on Facebook or whatever it might be, we forget that we're still famous to some of the people that are right around us. The people that we can mostly impact are right there. So keep that in mind as you are creating. And then why? Why are you doing this? Why does it even matter? Brian Fanzo talked about us always just creating and adding to the noise. Creating content because content is king. Is it? Is it meaningful content? Is it something that matters to you? Will it really matter to your audience? Or are you just making that blog post so that you can hit publish and say, I checked that off of my to-do list today? Why do we do what we do? So when it comes to creating videos, I want you to determine why you're creating. And here are some actual tangible ways of thinking about your creation. Is it for brand awareness? Am I just trying to get people to better know, like, and trust me, love me, want to be around me because I'm awesome, I'm weird, and now I'm exposed? Is it for engagement and relationship building? Is it for marketing a particular service or product? So that's why you're making a series. Is it for building your email list? What does that look like? What are those call to actions that are going to be necessary for you to build an active email list? Or is it for a product launch or for a temporary campaign? But there's a reason that you're doing what you do. So create the why behind those activities. I want you to meet another great friend of mine. I just know some really awesome people. This is Alexa Carlin. She's the CEO and founder of the Women in Power Expo. And she's also a public speaker. And I actually met Alexa when she was live streaming on Periscope. Periscope was a thing. It really was. It really was a thing that connected so many of us. And it was really great in its time. But Alexa used to live stream every day as well. And I remember watching her when I was living in Denver. And I came across her. And then I moved to South Florida, and that's where she lives. And I met her at an event that we just so both happened to be at. And we became fast friends. But the thing that I love about Alexa is she's always thinking, like, how can I utilize these platforms to really amplify my voice and amplify my mission, but do it authentically and show people some behind the scenes. So she does Instagram, she does all the different social platforms, but what I loved about something that she decided to do was YouTube. But not like a weekly YouTube series. She's not trying to be a vlogger per se, but she does want to take people behind the scenes of her public speaking activities. Because she also started a course called beapublicspeaker.com. So this utilizing of YouTube was really just to show people, A, that she does public speaking for a living so that she has that credibility, but also show you some behind the scenes about like what it takes. So she walks you through a whole, basically she just takes you on the trip with her. Wherever she's going to go speak, she vlogs that whole experience. And that's the only thing she does on YouTube. She doesn't create any more content for YouTube, but just for that purpose of showing you some behind the scenes. So that helps her do what? A, you get to see what it's like to be a public speaker. You get to see what it's like on her personal trips, people that she meets, and it helps pushes you towards beapublicspeaker.com. So very specific act that she's trying to create with that vlog. Lastly, where do you want to show up? Where? I've been just using video in general this whole time that I've been up there. But I've talked about live streaming, stories, pre-recorded. All of those are different types of videos, right? Damien said that he doesn't want to do live streaming because it wouldn't be good for anybody. But pre-recorded works for him. So you have to start identifying, well, what way works for you? And there's a few benefits to all of them, right? So knowing thyself, better understanding who you are will help you determine the best way for you to show up. Because you don't have to be like everybody else. You do not have to do it all. Choose what feels good and do more of that. Double down on what feels good to you and is an effective way for you to communicate with the people and the humans on the other side. So some benefits to live streaming is like real-time interaction. That's what I loved about Periscope. I love that I was able to literally speak to people in real time and then have conversations with them, and it was so much fun. You don't have to edit, which is awesome. If you ever try to edit and editing is not your thing, it's very time consuming. So if you don't want to edit, live streaming might be the way to go. You can show up as you are, right? Wherever you are. You can be at a conference and say, hey guys, I'm here live streaming, or I'm not here live streaming, but I'm here at this event doing some cool stuff and talking about some cool stuff right here, right now. And everyone's a part of my experience. But you can also create a live show that every single week people know, like on Mondays at 10 o'clock, you're coming on live. And you can do that too. Stories, I love stories. Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, all of these stories are short and sweet. And you can be super creative and you can be fun. You can show it, you can just do so many creative things with this device in your hand, right? It's simple, it's fun, but it's also compelling, and it helps people see all the behind the scenes of what you're up to. But you can be more deliberate about it as well and literally create the content experience that you want people to have. And pre-recorded, YouTube, Facebook, by uploading the video and having it be there longer, longevity is what you get from pre-recorded. It's gonna be there, it becomes searchable, It's awesome. It is edited. It is curated to some degree. But it's a multi-platform experience because you can upload it to several different places, right? So think about the benefits and what matters to you the most and what's going to matter to your audience. People connect with people. Nobody's perfect. Social media does force us to be more transparent. We can try to, fake the funk if we want to, but you have an opportunity there, right, to be real and to be a human because people are sympathetic to real life. Chris Schwab said that. So I want to end this with a couple of takeaways, all right? A powerful personal brand comes from knowing and trusting who you are. Who are you? Show up in a way that let people see exactly who you are and do it in a way that's authentic. Know who you're talking to and why you're trying to be in their presence. Use the power of video to engage and relate and create for them. There is so much power in your personal story, all of your stories. So you have to think about, how can I incorporate this into my business and into my brand? And then, of course, choose a platform that fits you, that fits your personality, that fits what you want to talk about, that helps with some of the time that you might spend on each platform. Do it because it'll help you be consistent. If you've been waiting for a sign to shoot video, do videos in any of the ways, this is it. I am your sign today. Do it. Try it. And if you don't like it, don't do it. It may be the wave, that's happening right now, and it's definitely going to continue to expand. But if you really don't want to, don't. I'm not going to be that person. Do what matters to you. Be true to yourself and show up in the best way. I'm Tiffany Lanier. I am all over the place, all of the time. So if you want to connect with me, please do so at Live with Tiffany. And thank you so much for your time.